So these 72 oversouls, what they have done is they've created a hierarchy within the self under the premise of a lie. And what it, in essence, what they are saying and what has been going on for millions of years in these lower, denser realms of which we experience embodiment and death and suffering, is that they will, because they do not want to experience firsthand for their own selves, the knowledge of the lower realms. They create souls again out of the one self that we all share. And when you are created as a soul, you are innocent as Adam and Eve were before the proverbial fall. You were innocent, and from a state of oneness, you've now found yourself in a state of duality. And you have the proverbial Adam and Eve, the male and the female. Now you are, now this is before you have taken on and attached yourself to the serpent, or the DNA that is found and hidden within all organisms. All of what we call living organisms, plants, trees, animals, humans, all has within it the hidden serpent of DNA. And basically, you are told by the soul that creates you that you must now attach yourself or partake of this serpent-like DNA. Attach yourself, let it create a body for you. Now your soul's consciousness is now attached to that embodiment. And you would not have done that had you known that this was something you did not have to experience. But it is all under the premise of a lie. First of all, the serpent is a lie in and of itself, because the DNA embodiment that you now attach yourself, that forms from the embryo into the fetus and into the child or into the animal, whatever that soul from the self attaches itself to now, is veiled from it the reality of the spectrum of freedom that the soul that created it resides in. And that is why souls create other souls, to embody themselves in lower realms. And in the system of reincarnation, what happened was these 73 oversouls, or 72, there were actually 73, but there's one that did not continue. And that's where we get the 72 names of God in the Kabbalah, in the Hebrew Kabbalah. Incidentally, I'm going to digress for a second. There are many cultures that already understand this and saw it through meditation, saw it through intuition. The shamans in the Andes knew about the serpent that is within all things. The Sumerians, if you look at the Sumerians, they have the legend of the Anakai or the Naki. These are the gods that enslave humanity, and they understand the artifact of life. And in some of their drawings, they have the two intertwined serpents, which represents DNA, which basically they knew about through intuition, in much the way Tibetans do when they delve into higher states of consciousness. But anyways, incidentally, the Egyptians also had the pole with the snake intertwined. There's always a serpent in a culture where shamans and intuitives and those who have seen through the veil of Maya and understood what is going on have tried to depict and share. And it's in the Adam and Eve story as well. Adam and Eve partook of the lie of the serpent, and they were cast out of paradise and told they must die. Now they were innocent, they did not understand, yet they were cast out by the so-called gods who created and said, let us make man in our own image. These gods, these whatever you want to call them, guides, your higher selves, watchers in the Druid and in ancient Europe, they call them the watchers. They are lying, basically. They want to experience these lower realms. They want to have the knowledge of it. They do not want to leave the freedom of the light. So they begin this hierarchy of what we call reincarnation. And there are a lot of people who have had near-death experiences, or in Michael Newton's books, talk about journey of souls, talk about the groups of reincarnated souls that are on higher realms. Well, each of these souls were begotten originally from an oversoul, sent into a lower realm. And there is not just one lower realm. There are 11, and they each have some form of DNA embodiment in less denser realms of matter and light. And these souls are led down into an incarnation. And I'm going to use myself as an example in some of the discussions, the intuitive discussions I've had with these oversouls. I come from one who calls himself David, and he was begotten from the soul of Ben, who is one of the 72 names of the Hebrew gods, and the 72 Anunnaki, or Anunnaki, the oversouls. And he was begotten from them, led into an incarnation over 3,000 years ago. And when he was released from that incarnation, he ascended to a higher realm. And he was continued in this state of non-knowing that he must progress and evolve through this process of incarnating. But he does not actually do it himself. He was called at first my higher self, the soul which I came from. Now I want to just digress for a second, and I'm going to come back to David, but I remember reading in Gary Zukav's book about the seat of the soul, how he says, there's like the ocean of consciousness, and then there's the cup, which is called the soul. You reach into the ocean of consciousness, which is all one mass of water. This is all an analogy. All connected, all one mass of water. And Gary Zukav says you reach into that ocean, you take out a cup of water. That is the soul. That is the higher self within time and space, within the ocean of consciousness. That is what David called himself, my higher self. He says, I am your higher self, the soul that you will return to. And David is not connected to me at this point. I am a part of that cup of water that David saw as his soul. And he, in turn, took that same water. And Neil Donald Walsh says, you are a fragment of that soul. You come from that higher self, or that soul. And Gary Zukav said that then you are, after your experience and your sojourn in the lower realms is over, you are then added back to that cup. And eventually that cup will be added back to the ocean. And it seems like we all believe in these higher selves. This is the myth of reincarnation. And these souls are created from the oversouls, sent into lower realms. And I'm told that there are 4 planets. Planet Earth is one. There are 4 groups of oversouls, as I've discussed in other videos. And one of the groups started in Pleiades, one in the Andromeda system, one in another system. I do not know where it is at, but there are other planets where this is going on, 4 in total. And on planet Earth, all of the groups are mixed. And we are all here in the lower realms of what the Kabbalists call Malkuth, or what they term, I've heard from them, is called Kagekin. This physical embodiment that we're in, and we come from these so-called higher selves, which in turn also, like David said he was my higher self, comes from an oversoul, one of these oversouls. Now David believed in a lie too. He believed that he must make other souls out of himself, send them down into lower realms, and experience for them. Now after my sojourn here in this lower realm was to be over, then all of the memories that I have, I give to David. David did not create them in his lower realms. He's in a higher realm right now, working on his own. And all of these realms, incidentally, are attached to Earth, and we call them oftentimes the astral planes, or the less denser planes. He's there. He is not making the choices here for me. I came from him. Now I am here in the circumstances that he dished out. The cards from the deck of proverbial playing cards that we all play. He dished me out a hand of cards, and wants to see what I'm going to do with them. And then after I play out the hand the best I can here in this realm,